You won't believe the battle I had with my HOA over some simple garden lights. It all started when I decided to spruce up my front yard. I installed these beautiful, low-voltage solar lights along the walkway. They were tasteful, elegant, and honestly, they made the whole neighborhood look a little nicer at night. I was proud of my work, and my immediate neighbors even complimented them. But then, the letter arrived. It was a formal violation notice from the Homeowners Association. My heart sank. The letter claimed my lights were not in keeping with the aesthetic standards of the community, and that they created excessive brightness. Excessive brightness. They were solar-powered. They gave off a gentle, warm glow, not a stadium-level floodlight. The letter gave me 14 days to remove them or face a hefty fine. I was furious. This felt like a classic HOA power trip. I decided I wasn't going down without a fight. I read the HOA bylaws. Cover to cover, there were pages about fence heights, lawn maintenance, and trash placement, but not a single word specifically banning or regulating walkway lights. Their case was built on a vague aesthetic standards clause. That's when I knew I had a chance. I replied to their notice, politely pointing out the lack of a specific rule and requested they cite the exact bylaw I was violating. Their response? Another letter, this time more aggressive. They doubled down, saying the board had the authority to interpret the aesthetic clause as they saw fit. They even attached a photo of my house at night, which felt incredibly invasive. It was clear this wasn't about the lights anymore. It was about control. That's when I decided to escalate things. I started talking to my neighbors, and it turned out I wasn't the only one who had been targeted by the board for petty reasons. One person was cited for having a welcome mat that was too colorful, and another for a non-conforming mailbox. Even though it was there when they bought the house, we realized we had a bigger problem on our hands. A few of us formed a small group and decided to attend the next monthly HOA meeting. We prepared our arguments, brought copies of the bylaws, and even had photos of other homes with similar, unsighted decorations. The meeting was tense. The board president, a particularly grumpy man named Mr. Henderson, basically dismissed our concerns out of hand. He just kept repeating that the board had discretionary authority. It felt like talking to a brick wall. Defeated but not giving up, I had one last, crazy idea. I remembered that our town's mayor lived just a few streets over, technically within our HOA's jurisdiction. I'd seen him jogging in the mornings. He seemed like a reasonable guy, taking a huge leap of faith. I drafted a respectful email to his public office address. I explained the situation, not just about my lights, but about the HOA board's pattern of overreach and selective enforcement against multiple residents. I attached the letters, the photos, and a summary of our failed attempt to resolve it at the meeting. I didn't really expect a response, but it felt better than doing nothing. To my absolute shock, I got an email back the very next day. It wasn't from a secretary. It was from the mayor himself. He said he was concerned about the issues I raised and promised to look into it. The next HOA meeting was 2 weeks later, and guess who showed up? Mayo R. He wasn't there in an official capacity, but as a fellow homeowner. The look on Mr. Henderson's face was priceless. The mayor calmly and publicly questioned the board's inconsistent enforcement and their interpretation of the vague aesthetic rule. He pointed out that fostering community was more important than micromanaging decorations. The board was completely blindsided and flustered. After that public dressing down, the board had no choice but to back off. The violation notice against me was rescinded, and so were the ones against my neighbors. Better yet, the whole ordeal inspired more residents to get involved. In the next HOA election, Mr. Henderson and 2 of his cronies were voted off the board, replaced by reasonable people who actually cared about the community. And my garden lights, they're still there, glowing proudly every single night. It just goes to show that sometimes you have to stand up to a bully, and you never know who might be in your corner. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a crazy HOA experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.